Mash and Finn are sitting in their dorm room, where he has successfully concealed the fact that he cannot use magic. Finn is reading magic books with deep interest, while Mash has kept a huge pile of cream puffs to eat. He is nibbling his cream puff when he asks Finn for the next day's assignment probe. The class asks to bring a broom, but Mash has a burdock for himself. Finn is super surprised to see his burdock, but after a brief moment, Finn agrees to give Mash his broom. Their magic teacher gathers the class on the grassy ground the next day. She wants everyone to know how to apply magic on a broom. She tells them to utter the word fly. When they say the word, it begins flying and comes into the student's hand. Mash watches around. His classmates say the word fly and the broom flies over the ground, and they grab it in their hand. Mash, being a non-wizard, tries it several times, but as expected, it does not fly. A classmate notices his failed attempts and comes near Mash. He makes fun of him for delaying the learning process, because everyone must wait until Mash learns to fly a broom. Mash smashes his foot on the ground. With the immense force of his fear, the broom is lifted above the ground at Mash's arm height. Mash quickly catches the broom in his hand and says fly to make it look like he performed magic. But his classmate noticed that it was not the magic word that caused the broom to fly. Broom flew earlier, while Mash said fly after catching the broom in his hand. He accuses Mash of cheating, but Mash ignores him. The female teacher is annoyed by Mash's inability to match class performance in each task. She is now planning to teach broom magic to the next level. The teacher confirms if all are ready. She then asks Mash and another student to ride the broom and fly. Mash, as this class fellow, knows he will be the winner. But this time, Mash knows he can do well. He challenges his classmate that whoever wins the task will get the winner's title, and other will be known as loser. The teacher announces that they can begin to fly. When the teacher utters the words, Mash flies quickly and reaches the finish line. The other class fellow is still standing in the same spot. He is quite surprised at how anyone can move so fast. Mash has already thought about what he would do to win. It's also a massive surprise for the teacher to see someone fly as fast as Mash did. She instantly announces that Mash has set a new record for speed. No one has ever reached the finish line with that speed to date. No one noticed, but his friend Finn knew what he did to win the task. At first, he threw his broom ahead of him close to the finish point. Then he started running and instantly jumped over the broom, so no one would thought he was running. Mash landed on the finish line riding the broom, and no one knows how he scientifically used air resistance to control speed. The other classmate is so embarrassed at his defeat. He keeps shouting, while Mash humbly tells him he would not call him loser, so he can stop whining. At the same time, Lloyd Cavil comes there and locks Mash's classmate's lips with magic. He introduces himself to Mash and says he is impressed with his abilities. Cavil apologizes on behalf of another student and requests that Mash would not call him a loser as he was Cavil's friend. Cavil wants to be Mash's friend, and he leaves, taking the losing classmate with him. On the other hand, Cavil is so angry at his friend for losing the simple task to Mash. He wanted him to distract Mash, and now Cavil is angry that the boy failed. He punches the boy's face several times until it bleeds. The losing classmate falls unconscious on the ground. On the way home, Mash asks Finn who the Cavil is and why everyone is afraid of him. Finn is an old student of a school like Cavil. He tells Mash about the family of Cavil. They are in the Bureau of Magic, which is considered the ultimate authority in their area. If anyone tries to mess with Cavil, his parents use their strong influence and coordinate with the vice principal. The vice principal, loyal to Cavil's family, has expelled many students of Cavil's false complaints. It's why no one wants to indulge in a fight with Cavil. After school, Mash does what he enjoys the most. He is making his favorite cream puffs with delicious pastry filling. Making cream puffs in his kitchen, he wishes that Regro would have tasted them. Also, he remembers how desperately Brad wants him to be a powerful and top student at this school. The next day, preparing for potions class, Mash takes out the book from his bag. He is amazed to see that book is in bad condition, and its initial pages are badly torn apart. The other classmates laugh at his carelessness, while Finn feels so embarrassed at how they are making fun of Mash. However, Mash does not feel ashamed. At the same time, Cavil comes to him and wants to know why he did not join him yesterday. Mash, the simple guy, replies casually that he is baking his favorite cream puffs. Cavil laughs in a low tone that Mash overlooks. Afterward, Cavil takes Mash with him and asks him to do a lousy task, such as he gives all his books and magic probes to carry in the school. Then he polishes Cavil's shoes and massages his shoulders. Finn is so embarrassed at what he is doing, but Mash does not feel a thing. Once Cavil leaves, he prepares for the next class and searches for his book. Once again, his other textbook is badly torn. He joins Finn on his desk and asks him to lend him his book today, as he lent his broom last day. Finn declines to lend his book, but Mash does not listen. He takes out a paper bag of cream puffs that he saved for Finn and gives it to him. After all, Mash is grateful to have a friend like Finn. The next day, Cavill is once again with Mash. He is so happy that Mash does whatever he is asked to do. Cavill intentionally spills water from his glass. Before moving away, he asks Mash to clean it properly. Mash sees a great friend in Cavill, so he obeys whatever he asks. Hence, he cleans the spilled water and shines the surface like the new one. On the other hand, Cavill goes to Finn and orders him to burn Mash's clothes. It turns out that Finn damaged Mash's books on Cavill's order. He is so embarrassed about deceiving a good friend like Mash. Therefore, he simply refuses to burn Mash's clothes and obey any order that would hurt Mash. Hearing this, Cavill gets angry and shouts that he will use his influence to expel Finn from school. He beats him until Finn starts bleeding. While after clearing the surface of the water, Mash searches his bag for something. He finds Finn's book and wants to return it immediately. He searches him around, when suddenly he hears some sounds. He follows the sound and sees that Finn is on his knees. His forehead is bleeding, and he cannot stand up because he is injured. Cavill mocks Finn to be a downgraded person and invites Mash to join him for lunch with the vice principal. Mash sits with Finn and politely asks him to tell him who did this to him. Hearing his friend's voice, Finn burst into tears. He tells everything about how he burnt his books to please Cavill, because he threatened him that he would report the vice president and expel him from school. Mash stands up from his place and reaches where Cavill is standing. Grabbing Cavill's hair, he bangs his head many times on the floor. Cavill's friends get afraid to see this and threaten Mash that he will expel him from school. At the same time, Vice Principal Farman comes there. He claims that he has watched how Mash assaulted an innocent student Cavill. Hearing this, Mash knows that Farman will not favor him even if he is right. So, he bangs his knees over Vice Principal Farman's face without further reasoning. Finn and Cavill's friends try to stop him, but he knows how he will have to use his immense physical power to have the favor of the Vice Principal. As Vice Principal Farman threatens to expel him from school, he bangs his head again. Immediately after that, Mash starts digging the floor with tremendous speed and power. He puts Vice Principal Farman in the dirt and buries him, keeping only his face out. Doing that, he assures the vice principal that he will bury his body if he expels him from the school. Later that day, Mash's assault against Cavill and vice principal is reported. He presents himself before the school head. He is very old and a considerate person. Mash is unaware of what he did. At that moment, he assumes he is being inquired about making puff pastries without permission. The old head of school has a charge sheet in his hand. He reads his charges, where he is accused of beating Cavill and burying Vice Principal Farman. His expel orders are from the Bureau of Magic, where top wizards work. But the school principal burns his expel orders because he sees a caring person in Mash. He believes the world needs someone like Mash, who puts others before himself. The principal wants Mash to be one of the top visionaries. He explains how to become a top visionary and notices that Mash is not responding. Although he is listening, he cannot understand so much information at once. So, the principal decides to simplify, becoming a top visionary for him. He explains that Mash must stand out in his class to be a part of the Bureau of Magic's top team. He will have to win each task. Ultimately, as a reward for each task, he will get coins. In the end, whoever has a maximum number of gold, silver, and bronze coins will be a member of the Bureau of Magic. Principal shares that news with Mash that he will save him from being expelled this time. He will handle all the school's top management and Mash needs to concentrate on his studies. Mash returns to his dorm and meets Finn, who is glad to see him back. After the beating that Mash gave to Cavill, students now look at him with respect. While he talks like a simpleton with his friend Finn walking in the school corridor, suddenly a guy named Tom stops them in the corridor. He is impressed with how Mash defeated Cavill. Therefore, he is here to invite Mash for a game and he is the MVP of the last year. Tom invites him to play Duelo. That game involves riding the brooms, but Mash refuses to play Duelo because he does not know how to ride a broom. However, Finn is highly excited that Mash is taking part in Duelo besides being a first-year student. Tom is so famous among girls for being an extremely successful sporty guy. Ultimately, he leaves, ignoring what Mash said. He wanted to tell how he could not ride a broom, but until then, Tom has gone. It's match day, and Mash sits over his broom, wondering what he will do now. The first match begins between Adler Dorm and Land Dorm. Every player is flying in the air with their brooms. The audience is so excited that Mash can see College Students Association with the game. They see Duelo as a top game. Whoever wins the match will be given a silver coin. So, all the participants start flying over their brooms. They transfer balls among each other, and the game is getting exciting. Suddenly someone from the audience notices that he is just sitting idly. He just doesn't want to move into the ground space. Initially, the audience shouts at him to get up and play with the team. But when they see that Mashle will not move, they throw bottles and other waste over him. They are now shouting at him that he should get up and return if he can't play. Hearing the word home, he knows he wants to go home. Suddenly, he realizes that he is here to become the top visionary. So, going home is not an option. That way, he would not become part of the Bureau of Magic. He remembers how the principal advised him to win as many coins as possible to win the top visionary spot. Watch this left video if you have missed part 2, and subscribe to Annie Summary for more anime recaps.